With the building, you're absolutely right in your comments, but for mine to try to market the building, and I understand that. I mean, they had spent over $100,000 on just doing the renderings for this building. I mean, initially, and you're right, how can you do that and not know that you gotta raise the roof? I mean, you would have thought you would have checked that out. I agree with everything you're saying. I also know that I have a building there that has been sitting for 10 years. And I think that a lot of people thought the tarp company is a trucking company. It's not a trucking company. Actually, they moved the trailers around with a smaller version of a truck. I mean, it's not like there's trucks driving in and out of this facility. Now,
So
that's
was
them.
the company that asked for the variance?
The other company that asked for the rezoning, they had a site plan already.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was denied?
Well, it was voted, it was turned down from.
Okay.
That's why I was asking if there's been offers, because right now they control what happens to that property, not us. And the conversation that we had a few years ago was whether or not we should invoke our clause in the agreement that said we could take back that property so that we can at least control what happens next. So I don't know if they're actively marketing it as well as you could, or they're only marketing it to the point where they're going to make a buck back. I don't blame them for doing that, but if we controlled that property first down, would there be more movement? I hear what you're saying, I hear about the size, but they're marketing it to their best interest, not for the city's best interest, and maybe you could do a better job with that. And I think our agreement allowed us to take it back at their expense.
Yeah, with their taxes on our tax roll too.
Well, they pay the taxes, and I believe our agreement says that if we market and all of our legal costs, all of our marketing costs, they would have to incur that. If we sold it, they'd get whatever's left over from the sales price. But I thought the reason we drafted the agreement the way that we drafted it was to put ourselves back in control if the $15 million development ever took place. And so here we are, it didn't take place, good reasons why, but in my opinion, they're still controlling the property, not us, and we built a clause in that agreement to prevent that from happening.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if you remember, that particular sale, there was an appraisal completed on it, and there was, I don't remember, if it came in at X,
Yeah,
there was
yeah.
Y, and so the real other challenge there is the cell tower. Remember, it was $500,000, $700,000 to relocate the cell tower, and they were trying to build around that. That challenge will also still follow whoever buys that building. So, you know, all of those things, I mean, quite honestly, I've never had the conversation with the developers, but they'd probably like nothing more than to give it back to the city of Taylor and get their money back.
Well, we would have, I don't think the agreement requires us to buy it back. It puts it in control at their expense. I'm just thinking George might be able to market it better than they are. And George, maybe my interpretation of that agreement is different than yours. I thought we agreed back then that we had a right of refusal, and if that development agreement fell through, it'd come back to us, but at their expense.
It would be a very...
So that we could control what happened to it.
I understand.
No, I think it's written that we would have to purchase it back. I haven't looked at it in a long time, but I think that's how it's written. Because right of first refusal only gives us the right to purchase it first before somebody else does.
If you value that, let's take a look at the agreement, because that's not my interpretation, but you know.
Again, I haven't looked at it in a long time, since probably the last time we talked about it.
And through the chair, if I was to market it, I would market it I-1. You know, whatever the outcome, I'll be marketing to an I-1 because I have a 60,000 square foot building there. It's just a challenge for me. And could I be, to Laura's point, could we do conditional rezoning or those kind of creative?
Why are we even marketing it?
We're not.
If they own it, why are we? Yeah, I mean, okay.
No, if
So
anything-
you're talking if it came back to you?
Well, I got a call on a printing company that, from a broker that's interested, if, so I-1, right, but would that fit? But whatever, if I was to market it, I would have to do it at I-1. I mean, it's a challenge site for anything other than that. It's a challenge. My demographics would just be, I mean, Laura suggested a sporting thing or, you know, like there's a lot of recreation, but, you know, that group is really narrow, and right now it's an eyesore to a golf course and to the community. And it's before this banquet center, which I was really happy to get the banquet center. I thought that was my first deal. you know, when I came here, you know, for them to build at $15 million, I thought it was a home run, you know, because it was, had golf course views and all that. And I would have thought they would have checked the foundation, but, you know, I didn't know they were had to raise the roof. But to answer your question, I would still have to, I would be marketing to an I-1, and I could probably turn it right away.
Any other discussion? Thank you. Okay, item 7 is a motion to approve referring the petition to vacate a portion of Polk Street north of Eureka to the Planning Commission for review and comment. Mr. Martin?
Thank you, Chairman and Council. The taxpayer, if you recall, came to the city 2 months ago to ask to vacate the alley to the west of the 4-story office building. They are now requesting council to vacate the majority of the road of Hip Street, which they own controlling interest on both east and west of Hip Street. Their intention is to vacate it north of the parking lot that allows access to the 2-story office building on the east side of Hip, and also to their office building on the west side of Hip. And then to vacate the balance of Fifth Street going north up to the dead-end turnaround. There is a house in the very northern part that is also owned by the petitioner, and their intention is to be tearing that house down to then make it all vacant land. So that is their request. And per our council bylaw, my job is requested to council to send it to Laura Sell, her department, to review and comment on.
So Laura, have you been able to do that yet or no? Is this just as allowing her to go?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. This is part one.
This is the official, he has to
Gotcha.
bring it through council, and they would refer it to planning, and then it would go before planning commission for a recommendation, and then come back.
Okay, all right. So we're just gonna continue the motion. Okay. Is there any questions on that? Thank you. Item number 8 is a motion to approve First Amendment to the limited tax full faith and credit general obligation contract of lease related to the Taylor Building Authority. Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So just to give you a little bit of highlight here, a couple weeks ago, the TBA meets on a quarterly basis, and a couple weeks ago, we had our quarterly meeting, and at that meeting, I noticed that an agreement that was approved by the TBA board has not come through council yet. Back in March, it was approved by TBA, and it's one of those oversights we just missed it, and so like I said, I don't think it's ever went to council yet, so we put it on here. And if you read my remarks, like I said, this was ran through Gus. Gus firm did this amendment, and everything's pretty much similar to the amendment that was done for the 2000 lease. This is now the 2003 lease, because those leases were written to expire when the debt expires, which is 20 years or 30 years, but the statutory law, you can go up to 50 years with these agreements. So what we did with the 2000 lease and what we're doing with this one is we're just changing language so that we can go to that statutory maximum of 50 years. Again, this was brought to the building authority, they reviewed it and approved it, and now it's coming to council for council's approval. Gus is not here today, but if there's any legal questions, I mean, you can probably email him or ask him tomorrow at the meeting.